Now to the latest on the leak of classified military intelligence. Today, the suspect in that leak, Jack Teixeira, is set to appear in court for a detention hearing.
Hey, time for another Rick Take. The airman who stole secrets to sell the world. All right. Now, there's a little bit of controversy as to how the hell you say this guy's last name. Some are saying Teixeira. Some are saying Teixeira. I don't know which, so I might flip-flop between the two of them, so I apologize in advance. And this one is split between two articles today because I noticed that BBC has some shit that the Times doesn't have, and the Times has some shit that BBC doesn't have. So, with that, I'm going to start with the BBC. It is hard to read, so I will be linking the articles like I normally do down in the doobly-doo. But, going forward, Jack Teixeira, I'll just say it Teixeira, even though it's probably wrong, don't care. Suspected leaker made threats and researched shootings, U.S. says. This is what this guy looks like. He's really young, you know? Sad he made a mistake like this. But a U.S. airman suspected of leaking dozens of classified files had a history of making violent threats and researched mass shootings, prosecutors allege. Jack Teixeira wrote on social media that he wanted to kill a ton of people as a way of calling the weak-minded, according to a court filing. I really wish I knew where this was posted. It's very, very... I don't want to say that it looks like fake information or that it is, but it just looks... It looks manufactured, almost like a false flag of some sort. But, hey, it's neither here nor there. But that is one of my hot... Say that again. That is one of my Rick Takes. Okay. The 18-page document also claimed the 21-year-old kept a bazooka and other weapons close to his bed. My question is, how did he get access to a bazooka? On Thursday, prosecutors will argue he should remain in jail until his trial. Mr. Teixeira will appear at the detention hearing in a Massachusetts federal court. His legal team have not commented on the case, but are expected to argue he should not be detained. The filing from U.S. Justice Department prosecutors on Wednesday outlined their case for keeping Mr. Teixeira, missing a period there, behind bars until his trial. It claims the IT specialist who served in the 102nd Intelligence Support Squadron in Massachusetts poses a threat to American and U.S. national security. Whereas I agree that if he still does have some of this information, he could sell it. So, I agree with that. However, we have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that that is exactly what Mr. Teixeira was planning to do. Just seems at this point that he was, a 21-year-old, young, dumb, full of you-know-what, bragging to his internet friends on Discord, which... He who has not bragged, throw the first stone. But in this case, maybe giving the 21-year-old with a predisposition to act like a jackass, maybe don't give him the top security clearance. But again, I digress. According to the prosecutors, he posted repeatedly about troubling, violent acts, including a potential mass shooting. He alleged describing building an assassination van and driving around shooting people in a crowded urban or suburban environment. He also allegedly searched for multiple recent mass shootings on his government computer, including Uvalde and the Las Vegas shooting. The filing also said a search of Mr. Teixeira's home uncovered a virtual arsenal of weapons. They really got to stop using these poor terms like virtual. It means something completely different today. Including bolt-action rifles, AR and AK style weapons, and a bazooka. How he got a bazooka, don't know. The defendant kept his gun locker with multiple weapons approximately 2 feet from his bed, according to the court filing. It added that he was suspended from high school when a classmate overheard him making threats and discussing Molotov cocktails as well as other weapons. He discussed violence and murder online and was prone to making racial threats, prosecutors wrote. but they don't note what racial threats were made. They also said, now this is the interesting one. Let's break this apart. They also said that after his arrest, the FBI found a tablet, a laptop, and an Xbox gaming console at his home that had been smashed and placed in a dumpster. Okay, let's try this. I'll read it again, try to make sense of it. Then I'm going over to the Times article because that one was at least a little bit more. It was written better. They also said that after his arrest, the FBI found a tablet, a laptop, and an Xbox gaming console at his home that had been smashed and placed in a dumpster. So I will ask, how was it found in the home of said suspect and seemingly at the same time recovered from a dumpster? Something ain't fucking jiving here. And at the very least, it's just because ChatGPT wrote this fucking article for BBC. All right, I'm going to now go over to the Times article. You should be able to see this one a little better, too. Airman accused of leak has history of racist and violent remarks, filing says. Jack Teixeira, the Massachusetts Air National Guardsman accused of posting classified documents online, repeatedly tried to obstruct federal investigators and has a troubling history of making racist and violent remarks, Justice Department lawyers said in a court filing late Wednesday. In an 18-page memo released before a detention hearing scheduled for Thursday in a Massachusetts federal court, the department's lawyers argued that Airman Teixeira needed to be detained indefinitely because he posed a serious flight risk and might still have information that would be of tremendous value to hostile nation states. Airman Teixeira tapped into vast reservoirs of sensitive information, an amount that far exceeds what has been publicly disclosed so far, they wrote. Prosecutors pointedly questioned Airman Teixeira's overall state of mind, disclosing that he was suspended from high school in 2018 for alarming comments about the use of Molotov cocktails and other weapons, and trawled the internet for information about mass shootings. He engaged in regular discussions about violence and murder on the same social media platform, Discord, that he used to post classified information, the filing said, and he surrounded his bed at his parents' house with firearms and tactical gear. Notice they don't talk about bazookas. Something doesn't add up. How the fuck does this airman have a bazooka, according to BBC, in his parents' home? Where did he get a bazooka? How did he smuggle it off of a base? Why? Makes no sense. Airman Teixeira was also prone to making racial threats, prosecutors said. This behavior, well, can we find out what kind of racial threats were made? Or do we have to wait? 21st century journalism, by and by, sucks fucking pud. There's no journalism to be had. It's all conjecture until after the fact. Then they give it to you, and by that point, the damage is already done. All right. This behavior, so disturbing it was flagged by local police when he applied for a firearms identification card, is certain to raise new questions about how Airman Teixeira obtained a top-secret security clearance that gave him access to some of the country's most sensitive intelligence reports. Major oversight, if you ask me. That's a Rick take. In arguing for his confinement, prosecutors described a panicked effort by Airman Teixeira to cover up his actions as law enforcement closed in, including telling a member of a chat group to delete all messages and instructing a user to stonewall investigators. He also tried to destroy evidence, prosecutors said. The filing includes a series of photos of electronic equipment, including a tablet and an Xbox console, that he hurriedly smashed, then tossed in a dumpster near his home in North Dighton, Massachusetts. See? That makes more sense. Dumpster near his home. As opposed to the other article that said, oh, well, they found this inside of his home, but also inside the dumpster at the same time. How does that make any fucking sense? Normally, I don't applaud the efforts of the New York Times, but I'll give credit where credit's fucking due. They got this one. They got this part of the article right. Thank you. Moving on. Before his arrest this month. Oh, well, fuck it. A witness told the government that he threw his phone out the window of his truck and as he was driving. These efforts appeared calculated to delay or prevent the government from gaining a full understanding of the seriousness and scale of his conduct, the department wrote. Any promise by the defendant to stay home or to refrain from compounding the harm that he has already caused is worth no more than his broken promises to protect classified national defense information. I agree with that. Airman Teixeira's court-appointed lawyer did not immediately return an email seeking comment. Airman Teixeira was arrested on April 13th and charged with 2 separate counts related to the unauthorized handling of classified materials. The government has yet to indict him before a grand jury, although prosecutors said in their filing on Wednesday that he could face 25 years and potentially far more in prison if convicted. In a preliminary complaint unsealed after he was taken into custody, Airman Teixeira was accused of abusing his top-secret clearance with an intelligence unit on Cape Cod to post documents bearing restrictive classification markings to a 50-member chat group on Discord. Shortly before signing off in March, Airman Teixeira told a member of the small group he was very happy to share intelligence very few people get to see and solicited requests for information they wanted him to post, prosecutors said late Wednesday. The material, some obtained through keyword searches of government files, was eventually distributed more widely. The trove of documents made public revealed the access Western intelligence agencies have to internal Kremlin deliberations, while bearing concerns of the strained U.S.-led alliance trying to contain Russian aggression without prompting a wider conflict. Last week, the New York Times reported that Airman Teixeira, who worked as a computer network specialist, had been sharing sensitive information far earlier than previously known and to a much larger group. According to online posts reviewed by the Times, he had begun doing so in February of 2022, within 48 hours of the Russian invasion of Ukraine, to a chat group of about 600 members. Yikes. On Wednesday, prosecutors confirmed that report, writing that he began to access hundreds of classified documents unrelated to his job starting in February of 2022. The filing provided little insight into what prompted Airman Teixeira to leak internal U.S. intelligence assessments, but it casts his actions, which had previously been seen as mainly motivated by his desire to show off to younger friends online, in a somewhat darker light. Investigators found a small arsenal in his bedroom at the house he shared with his mother and stepfather. Inside a gun locker 2 feet from his bed, law enforcement officials found multiple weapons, including handguns, bolt-action rifles, shotguns, an AK-style high-capacity weapon, and a mask. FBI special agents also found ammunition, tactical pouches, and what appeared to be a silencer-style accessory in his desk drawer. Now that's interesting. Silencer wasn't mentioned in the BBC article, but they mentioned AR, AK, and a bazooka! Where'd the bazooka come from? Must be made up. Must be one of those clickbaity, we need to make this article sound more punchy, so tell ChatGPT to do it for us type of deals, right? Prosecutors also made public a series of social media posts from 2022 and 2023 in which Airman Teixeira expressed his desire to kill a ton of people and call the weak-minded, and described what he called an assassination van that would cruise around killing people in a crowded urban or suburban environment. How Airman Teixeira obtained the documents that he is accused of posting online has been a critical question for investigators. They believe he used administrative privileges connected to his role as an information technology specialist to retrieve the documents. In his posts, Airman Teixeira said his job gave him access to material that others could not see. The job I have Lets me get privileges above most intel guys, he wrote. Airman Teixeira has been scheduled for a detention hearing in federal court in Boston earlier this month, but his lawyers, Brendan Kelly, requested more time to address the government's arguments, and the magistrate judge, David H. Hennessy, quickly agreed. The next major step is likely to be filing of a grand jury indictment, which would include a much more detailed narrative of the allegations against Airman Teixeira, including a more specific accounting of the charges he will face. Worcester, a city 50 miles west of Boston, is where Judge Hennessy's courtroom is based, but the case will eventually be assigned to a federal judge in Boston, assuming it is not moved out of Massachusetts entirely, which remains a possibility according to people with knowledge of the situation. Who are those people? Would be nice to know. Officials at the Justice Department have considered asking that the case be moved to the Eastern District of Virginia because its jurisdiction includes the Pentagon, and its lawyers have extensive experience in investigating such cases. But it is not clear that the federal judges in Massachusetts, where Airman Teixeira lived and worked, will be willing to do so. And the U.S. Attorney for Massachusetts, Rachel S. Rollins, a Biden appointee, believes her office is capable of handling the matter, people familiar with the situation said. Who are these people? Why can't they be named? Asked about the case this week, Assistant Attorney General Matthew G. Olson was non-committal. It is currently being prosecuted and venued in the District of Massachusetts in Boston, Mr. Olson said, declining to comment any further. Well, that's a lot to take in for this developing story. If you liked what you saw here, subscribe to my channel. Click the like button on the video. Click the notification bell. If you didn't like it, hate watch it, hate subscribe, hate share it, and give it a thumbs down. Nobody sees it anyways, and I don't give a shit. I do this for the fun of it. With that said, peace out. And now for something on topic.